Hello everyone. I want to first say that I finally got my new computer built, and I have been working on Orbiter mods, and whatever videos that I've been making have been on a really shitty X230 laptop. It's a little beloved machine, but it's not very powerful, so I can barely play Orbiter on it. So now I have a pretty good machine with a very decent graphics card, and I'm gonna produce more Orbiter content. I've also been teaching myself how to actually fly, how to actually, uh, play in Orbiter, doing things like interplanetary transfers and stuff. So I think I should be able to produce some content that would be useful to people trying to learn how to play Orbiter. Finally, I think I can say that I think I might be able to produce some useful content. And also, I'll be able to produce some Orbiter development content as well. Anyway, a couple questions came into the Orbiter forum that I wanted to take some time to address. So one of them is this one. So what I wanted to say about this is that there was a clear messaging from the Orbiter forum staff when it concerns this fork that they created. And I guess I have tried to highlight where I can that by the way, this is my user computer X, that this is this that this fork is not real. This is not the real Orbiter repository. It's a fork of this. This is a real Orbiter repository where Martin regularly makes commits. See, he made this commit yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 6 days ago, 6 days ago. He has been working on this on Orbiter, and anyone who says otherwise is lying to you. And no one else is saying it besides Zion, and which I will show you later. So, yeah, this is the real Orbiter repository. This is a fork created by the Orbiter forum, and it's pretty much irrelevant. You can forget about it. Nothing is happening here. So I had some notes that I can share. Specifically, I think that there is some deception kind of going on here. So if we look at the announcement of this thing, I think specifically this post is very enlightening. It's specifically, in addition, while we have maintainer privileges, blah blah blah, only Martin has owner rights to the orbitersim organizations. And specifically, this sentence, moving the official free and open source effort to a new organization allows us to add additional owners who can perform these duties, and flexibility to quote unquote add supporting structures. So I think that's the main idea. Is the intent was to move the open source organization to a different and the intent was for everyone to start committing stuff probably to the new fork instead of Martin's original repository. It just never turned out. Of course it wasn't gonna be like that, because while the administration says that it's not to create any divide, when you think about it, astute readers and thinkers will understand that if there was no need to create any divide, why was this fork named OpenOrbiter? Why was there the intention to quote unquote move the official free and open source effort to a new organization? If the goal was simply to provide builds, there could have been a fork called Orbiter Forum Builds, Orbiter Builds, right? It's a naming that's deliberate That's so let's look at it. Specifically, this part I found very weird, where even in the original announcement, but I haven't had an answer back, which I did expect. It's a little bit disrespectful, in my opinion, against Martin. Like, he has no obligation to respond to you, Zion. Who do you think you are? Like, he's been responding to the relevant people on the forum, you know. So he specifically, if you look at this thing right here, he's on public forums, public places, and as a Orbiter forum staff, he should know how his word kind of reflects. If he considers himself as an Orbiter inside the Orbiter for like Orbiter organization or whatever, then he should know how this reflects when he's saying these things against the founder / the chief author of this sim. He has been around, right? Like, and what's, like, if you another thing is that the naming. So like 3 months ago, they did know that, yeah, there was an issue with the naming, right? If this was only to make builds, the fake fork, as I've started calling it, then why is it called Orbiter, OpenOrbitersim? And when they knew that there was a naming issue, why didn't they change it as Orbiter forum / organization admins, or whatever they want to call it themselves these days? Like, it's not rocket science. They should understand that that's not a good thing, like the naming. So of course, the fake fork never produces a single build, which was supposedly the original goal. No website is ever provided, right? That's a lot of what I see from Zion, Iron Rain, all those people who are like, I don't see any sort of substance, any sort of anything behind anything that they claim. They also mentioned that they're going to be implementing signatures and API for add-ons and stuff. Nothing, of course. It was all bullshit. Meanwhile, Martin is working to integrate new features, and you can see him on the forums posting on a daily basis and committing into the real Orbiter repository. And I just wanted to point towards, put these two things side by side, the real orbitersim repository and the fake fork. And you can see how, if this thing right here was only meant to make builds, why is it called OpenOrbitersim? When people hear that Orbiter is going to go open source, they're like, wouldn't this confuse people when they see OpenOrbiter? Right? So now if we look at the messaging on the forum, yeah, the intention was with the OpenOrbiter repo was to produce builds because the forum staff had no way to implement them, but now we do. So it like when all this bullshit was going on, Martin immediately implemented the build, and now the real orbitersim repo is actually serving real builds and artifacts, whereas fake fork is not doing anything. So, and if it was so, like, why fork the entire thing / like fork it in such a deceptive way if the goal was just to make builds. But you can see that it wasn't just to make builds, because it was quote unquote to provide supporting structures. Anyway, that's pretty much my take on the whole fake fork. There's only one Orbiter repository. Everything else are forks. And this is the biggest fork of them all. Like the fakest fork of them all, I should say. I created this pull request. I was in bed and I thought, hey, they have a fake ass fork. Maybe I should create a pull request and tell people that. And Zion, of course, the modified, edited my post afterwards. Yep, real mature. So yeah, anyway. Yeah, one thing else that I want to point out from Orbiter Forum mods / admins is that they're not very professional on online forums. Like, this is Woo, like for some reason name dropping and targeting my wife, who has nothing to do with any of this. Okay, and Zion, the last memory I have of him when I was like 12 is him posting a picture of himself as a man with his son. So, and I was like 10 at that time, so he's at least 2 times my age, at least. Anyway, let's move on to the next thingy. Yeah, so there was another post here, and I just wanted to clear some things for people. Linko freak, you needn't bother trying to have a reasonable discussion with dbeachy because he's not really interested. I'll tell you what really happened. We have this, there's the releases page for XR, for the XR vessels on GitHub. And here they use Ripley, as Ripley pointed out, that XR2 is missing here. It used to be here. XR2 used to be here. Doug removed it as soon as he discovered that the Orbiter Essentials recipe this thing right here, which installs a bunch of mods for Orbiter. As soon as he discovered that we were pulling the XR2 from here, he removed it. So that's what happened. So he started hosting he was hosting the XR2 on his website. Everyone knows that. It's been there for the longest time. And then I come along maybe in May, June, and I write this tool called Orb, and it starts pulling XR2 from his website as part of the Orbiter Essentials bundle. And then there was a falling out. Like, he changes his mind about allowing Orb to pull stuff from the site, so he moves his mods to the Orbiter forum and puts them behind Cloudflare, so that Orb has to open the user browser to be able to download XR2. And he makes the mods private, requiring an Orbiter forum login and 2 approved posts for download. So, of course, then I updated the Orb recipe to pull from the GitHub releases. The XR2 used to be here, and there was a perfectly functioning build for the XR2 for the closed source version of Orbiter. It worked perfectly fine. And at the time, there was the XR2 there as well, but he removed it as soon as he discovered that Orb was pulling from it. And then, so of course, then I forked the XR vessels with the intention so that I could build the modules myself. And he updated all of his readmes on GitHub to go Rambo against the GPL. Main takeaway is that, he had no problem distributing a perfectly usable build for the closed source Orbiter 2016 until Orb came along and started pulling the XR2 binary from here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And he's been flaming me on Reddit You can, yeah. So for example, dbeachy one is, he doesn't post with this a lot, but yes. So he accused me of abusing MIT, quote unquote, and I tried to work with him. Literally, like, the intention was not to take credit from anyone, and it's never been the intention. The orb tool was pulling by stuff from Doug's own website. If he and this is a thing for Doug Beachy, and I have told this to him on public forums as well multiple times. If he moves his mods to his own website and makes it possible for Orb to easily pull the binaries and everything from his website, we're gonna of course prefer that, because it's not about taking credit. We were everything was being done to make sure that even his server-side scripts that track of metrics and stuff were being adhered to, so that all of his backend tooling to that made sure that he was taking track of, like, the downloads, for example, was working. So we're still committed to working with everyone at orbitermods.com at Orb for Orb. Okay, if he moves his mods to his website where it's not a pain in the ass for Orb to download it, we're gonna drop all of the binaries that are on orbitermods.com that are being served. And we're gonna pull, of course, from his official sources. But as is right now, he's moved his shit to Orbiter forum, and he's even though they're MIT/GPL licensed mods, he's made them private so that most, like, people who don't have an Orbiter forum login can get them. So of course, I have provided an alternative because they are GPL/MIT. You gave them this license, Doug. You can go to the DanStuff forum, and there should be instructions. I'm gonna post a lot of stuff here from now on. So there's a thread here that shows you how to install the entire XR fleet. You can do this manually by just downloading this zip, extracting them into the Orbiter root, and then extracting this zip and overwriting everything. Or you can do it using the orb tool with the XR fleet thing that we have here. And actually, if you install the Essentials bundle, it'll come with the XR fleet already installed by default. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. That's all I wanted to cover. Please stay tuned for more interesting content. All right, bye-bye.